Hey, what's up guys? So this is our brand new 2024 Kia EV9. We just traded in my wife's Honda Fit to upgrade to something larger, as you can see, that gives us a lot more room now for the family. We were wanting to upgrade to an EV SUV with the third row in the back. And we took a look at some options from Rivian, Tesla, etc., and we're really liking this new EV9. And before I start installing a bunch of radar detectors and dash cams and laser jamming systems here in the vehicle, I want to go ahead and start sharing my thought process here as far as the different equipment that I'm considering putting into the car and why. Alrighty, now to start things off, here's a look at the cabin before we start getting a bunch of equipment installed. Now, I gotta have something, of course, so I went ahead and grabbed an Escort MaxCam 360C. This is a really convenient option, just pop it up on the windshield like this, and there we go. Now we've got a radar detector and a dash cam built in. I know there's the Escort M2, which you can plug into the side of different radar detectors, but with this one, I like that the dash cam is over here on this side, which is nice if you're mounting it over on the driver's side of the vehicle. If the dash cam is over on this side, that would work for maybe mounting on the rearview mirror or over there, but I wanted to go with this setup here. Super convenient and easy. Plug it in, got the power cable right there, and we're good to go. Probably one of the first mods I'd want to do is actually put in mirror tap right there. So grab power from the back of the rearview mirror here, and then just plug it right into the side of the max cam, so I don't have this cable hanging down. And I can just have my radar detector plugged directly in. I'm eventually, of course, when I'm going to do a nice hardwire, maybe I'll stick to the mirror tap, maybe I'll get like a proper hardwire, we'll see. Now, besides doing a windshield mount radar detector and having the option to switch radar detectors just like I do in my Audi, I also want to go ahead and do a custom installed radar detector as well. I've been debating between maybe the Escort Redline CI-C or the Uniden R9. I like both of them. I'm kind of starting to lean towards the R9 though, just because of some of the improved responsiveness that we're seeing on Ka-band. Again, because it's my wife's car, most of the time it's going to be run with just Ka-band only, and with laser, I guess. I'll talk about laser in just a second, and not really with K-band. With the Redline, the K-band filtering is definitely better, so I could potentially run it with K-band on, but for the most part around here, we run it with just K-band turned off, and we run it with just Ka. And so for that reason, with the Uniden, we're going to get, both of them have long range performance, but the Uniden's going to do a better job as far as responsiveness. I know Escort's been working on that, but it's still not on par with the Uniden in that regard. Now, as far as where that's going to be installed though, I have no idea. That's going to depend on like once we actually get behind here and start, pulling body panels. I know this part looks like metal, but this part feels like plastic. So we should be able to just install it back behind here. We'll just see kind of what mounting options we have behind the body panel. There's also this too, but this one feels more solid. Usually that's where like the shock absorbers and stuff are for the actual impacts for the bumper. Then as far as the laser jamming stuff that I talked about, the Uniden R9, that has a laser jammer that comes with it. That could be an option. The Redline with the Escort option, you can do the Redline standalone and not pair it with the Escort laser jammers, which would be an option. They've been testing well. The Uniden's been testing well recently. The Unidens do seem to be testing a little bit better. We'll get to that maybe like once all the laser jamming test results come out. I don't think I would want to install the Uniden laser jammers just because I want the option to switch between different radar detectors. And if I've got whatever running on the windshield and I want to power off the R9 so I'm not getting interference between the different radar detectors, well then my laser jammers are turned off too. And so for that reason, I would prefer having a standalone laser jammer. Something you can do with like the ALP, TPX, TMG, all that kind of stuff. So the default option would be the ALP. As far as placement, go for a set of triples. So maybe something like, one here, one there, another one back behind here. Again, once we start pulling the body panels, we can see like, is it even feasible to mount behind here? And like, is this IR transmissive? Do we have to create some like acrylic that's in the same shape that's going to allow the IR to pass through in both directions? We'll have to see. It's an electric car, so there's not really any good like options for a traditional grille with your air intake. We could potentially mount him here. I think it would be kind of ugly, but that would be maybe the easiest option. It's also mounted pretty low. I'd like to get him a little bit higher. Another option might be mounting back behind here. Again, maybe if this is unavailable, plan B might be to like install them in there. So something here and something there. So a set of triples here on the front. Now, if for whatever reason this is all blocked and I can't get any laser jammers in there, the maybe other laser jammer besides the ALP that I'd be leaning to is actually the Stinger laser jammer, because they've got these really teeny tiny fibers. And with that, I mean, you've got a ton of options for like maybe just drilling holes directly into here if needed, or even like stuffing the heads between like some of the panel gaps here in the front of the car, maybe like installing them there or down in here or whatever. Like they're so small that you've got a ton of options where maybe a traditional laser jammer would be limited. The Stinger is going to be kind of like the fallback option if I can't go with something like an ALP. Next, let's take a look at the rear of the vehicle. So as far as the rear radar detector antenna to give me the arrows, that's just kind of going to go wherever. So I don't know, here, or just kind of like wherever we have space once we pull the bumper. The rear laser though, that's going to be a little bit more complicated. There's not really a good place I found for mounting them. Kind of your traditional spots would be like sort of over here by the license plate area. but there's not, again, actually a good spot to mount in there. And if you take a closer look here, you'll see exactly what I mean. Like, there's not really a good spot to like mount the heads underneath, right? There's no like lip here for the trunk. Maybe one option would be something like maybe building a bracket that attaches here to these screws and then like the heads stick out or something. Usually not super pretty, but it could work. Also, there's gonna be issues with like the heads getting bumped and stuff as we're putting stuff in and out of the car, whether it's luggage or kids strollers or whatever it is. Like, I don't want the heads exposed in that way, kind of getting banged around. Now, another option might be like attaching here to the rear trunk area, but again, there's not like a good thing to attach them to, like maybe onto this or something, but if we just close this here, they would have to sort of stick out a little bit, just kind of like hang underneath and grab there. And I guess they would be like sticking out or something, so maybe that could be an option. We'll see. I don't think it would be the most attractive thing, but that could be a possibility, I guess. Now, as far as the other spots here in the car, there's a couple other spots that I'm thinking that could work. Some of the options I was thinking of is like actually installing it here and sort of replacing a section of this reflector and putting the heads in there. A little bit low, but that could work. I don't know if maybe installing them in this area could be good as well. Again, we're kind of limited as far as placement, but that could work. There's always kind of the fallback option of like stingers and then just sticking them like in these little panel gaps and stuff. That said, I've only got a set of stingers for the front with the triples. It's like the previous generation of the stinger fibers. I've got their newer fibers, which we actually tested recently. We'll go over the results later in another video. But that one is designed to actually plug into the Stinger S850 radar detector. It's a package just like the unit in R9. And I run into the same situation of like, I would prefer having the standalone laser jammers. And I don't actually have that with the Stinger fibers. Now, as far as where to put the controllers and displays for like the custom installed radar detector and laser jamming system, that I'm actually not sure yet. Let's go ahead and take the max cam down real quick, get a better view. So I don't know, maybe put like something right here. Would that be visible, or would like the steering wheel be blocking it? We'll see. Maybe put like another phone mount right here. It'd have to be cross-platform for Android and iPhone with like wireless fast charging and stuff, since we use both of those. Maybe install something here or here, like, or here. Like, I actually have no idea where's the best place to do it. I know you can always do like a rearview mirror install, but this one is actually a digital rearview mirror like this to help you see behind. So I don't think I would actually want to like do a rearview mirror install. So I'm actually not sure where the stuff is going to go inside the car, but I guess we'll see all that once we get to the installation. And then moving on to dash cams, there's actually a camera built in right here that's for the digital rear view mirror, which is kind of nice, though this doesn't actually record at all, which is kind of unfortunate. There's a camera there, and there's also a backup camera down under there. So there's two cameras already pointing in the back, but neither one of them I can use as a dash cam, so I'm gonna have to install my own dash cam here. For the rear one, the rear wiper is actually tucked up here, and it comes down from the top. But either way, I'm gonna have to find a spot to mount the rear dash cam, just kind of like right here in the traditional area pointing out the back. And that'll give me the coverage out the back of the car. And then as far as the dash cam selection itself, I'm gonna go with a VFO 8229 Pro, the 2-channel version, to give me front and rear recording. I've got a lot of dash cams in my Audi right now that I'm doing some testing, and I'm really happy with the 8229 Pro overall. It seems to have a really nice combination of video quality and features. Now, there are some other dash cams I was considering, things like the new Blackview, for example, with the StarVis 2 sensor. The video quality isn't as good as the VFO, though one of the advantages is not only the cloud stuff, which is nice, but also the Wi-Fi features to actually give me a Wi-Fi hotspot in the car. The car itself can give me a Wi-Fi hotspot too, but it, number one, doesn't work when I'm parked. And number two, has to be manually turned on every time I get in the car. I can't just turn it on and like have the Wi-Fi work and just get in the car and drive, you know? Now, because I'd be going with something like most likely the unit in R9 as my default radar detector, that doesn't have Wi-Fi the way like the Escort Redline 360C does, or the CI 360C. And so I'm kind of less dependent on the Wi-Fi. So going for something like a VFO that doesn't offer the Wi-Fi hotspot functionality would actually maybe be a little better fit for that. So I'm kind of going for that one. Another dash cam I was considering is the ThinkWare U3000 for like the low-powered parking recording stuff. But again, I like the video quality out of the VFO quite a bit better. Now, speaking of like the low-power parking type stuff, as far as powering the dash cam, one of the things that I was thinking was like, okay, well, this thing has a huge battery pack inside. It's an EV. Like, the battery in the car is 1,000 times bigger than what you get from like one of the dedicated dash cam battery packs. Can I just tap into that for the parking mode recording? Unfortunately, I can't, just because it runs at like a much higher voltage. It runs at like over 600 volts, whereas all of our electronics are running at 12 volts, right? So it would fry it if I try to access it. Maybe there'd be a way to like step down that voltage or something. I'm not totally sure, but I'm assuming that we don't actually have access to that. I don't know how safe it would be to like tap into that battery. There is a 12 volt battery in here, just like a gas car, but like a gas car, it's just designed to like start the car. So it would be basically the same thing as like a gas car effectively to power the dash cam for parking recording. And so I'm like, okay, let's use maybe a dedicated dash cam battery pack. Now, I think maybe hooking that up would be a little bit more complicated because of the fact that, well, I would love to have the ability to like plug in the car to charge the car and have that also charge the Dashcam battery pack too at the same time, right? So give me longer record times when I'm out and about away from a charger and I've got the car parked. That said, that would also kind of complicate things because like normally what happens is when the Dashcam battery is getting power, that's only because you've turned the car on, you've started driving, that recharges the Dashcam battery pack. And so that battery will also tell the Dashcam to switch into driving mode. However, because the car is plugged in and the battery pack is getting power then, I'm still parked. I don't want power going into the Dashcam battery to tell the Dashcam to switch into driving mode because the car is still parked sitting at a charger. And so I'm like, okay, well, I have to create a way to basically charge the battery pack, but not have that trigger the Dashcam to switch into parking or into driving recording mode. I think there's a way to do that, maybe adding like a switch between the battery and the Dashcam itself so that the Dashcam can only receive like the ignition triggered like signal on that wire when the car is actually driving and not when it's just plugged in and charging. So I think the wiring would be a little bit more complicated, not too big of a deal, but I think there would be a solution that we could make that work. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as the Dashcam stuff so far. We'll of course have to see once we get in the shop and we start kind of messing around with all the cables and what fuses are accessible everywhere, etc. But otherwise, that's kind of my thoughts here so far as like the radar detector and laser jammer and Dashcam and batteries and all that kind of stuff. As far as the car overall, so far we've really been liking it. In many ways, it actually drives better than my Audi, which I wasn't expecting at all to be able to say about a Kia, you know? To some extent, okay, it's the shiny new toy, it's got newer tech, newer features, it's like 6 years newer than my Audi, so sure, that makes sense, but like, there's a lot of stuff like my daughter, every time we get in the car, she's like, Daddy, can you drive without your hands on the steering wheel? It has some self-driving stuff, you know, like it's got, of course, a lot more room for the kids in the back, which is amazing. Like, that's actually one of the main reasons we bought the car. The EV stuff, this is our first EV, so we're learning a lot about that. There's things like, okay, cool, we can park it in the garage and we can leave the house every time now with like a full tank, essentially, which is awesome, is one of the main things we've been looking forward to. But then I realized like, oh, that also means I have to unplug the car every time I want to go drive if I've got it charging at home. It's one extra step where I can't just get in the car and go, which I guess makes sense when you think about it, but just something I didn't think about beforehand. And I'm like, oh, right, of course, that's something that's a little bit different. Maybe worth the trade-off so I don't have to go to like a gas station or something. I just unplug it in the garage. But like, you know, so we're just kind of learning about this kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm not by any means the first person to have an EV, but this is our first EV. And so we're just kind of like playing around and learning and getting used to the experience, you know? So overall, really enjoying the car so far. And that's kind of my thoughts as far as the countermeasures and everything I want to put inside. Once I get into the shop, we're definitely going to do a video with like, all right, let's actually pull the body panels, let's do the wiring, let's get the install going, let's see what a professional, not me, but somebody who's like really good at this install stuff can do. So stay tuned for that. I'll definitely be doing a video on the install itself and then the final product once we get everything going. So with that said, there's my thoughts as far as what all I'm looking forward to installing here in the car and why. If you guys have any suggestions, tips, ideas, maybe different like phone mounts or tricks on like how to get the battery pack wired in the way that I've been describing specifically on EVs, I would love to hear more. So if you've got links, tips and tricks, etc., definitely let me know down in the comments. If you want more information about any of the stuff that I'm going to be putting in the car, I'll link to that down below as well. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are doing great, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.